Hello vac fans and welcome to another video, and yes, we are doing a Hoover Purepower today. I haven't reviewed one of these on my channel for quite some time, and I do have a couple of these in the collection. And I suppose what inspired me to do, well, I suppose the machine I had brought down to do this, but what should crop up today on my subscriptions list, but the old Ibasiac has had a Purepower. And I watched his video, which he put on about a couple of hours ago, and this was from a seller that I had recommended to Dorian. I saw it on eBay and I sent him an email about it, but his seller selling these as new Purepowers, new old stock sort of thing, and he actually bought one, as Roger said in his video, and I think Alex has bought one as well. This is pneumatic vacuum. And I really wanted one, but I thought, well, I've already got one here that is a fairly old Purepower, and this is in pretty good nick anyway, so I decided to pass on it because, well, you know, I could have too many Purepowers really, couldn't I? I would have liked one, but £85 I thought was a little bit steep for something that was 20 years old, because effectively that's what they are. The one that Roger's bought is a Week 8 1997 model, so it's actually 20 years old. It's one of the very, very earliest Purepowers they ever made. I think that was the same for most of the Purepowers this seller was selling. And Roger unfortunately had damage on his machine, unfortunately, because it's made of ABS, which gets brittle with age. Obviously the delivery people, or I don't know whether it was like that when he before it was. I doubt it would have been like it if the seller would have known. He wouldn't have sold it in that state. So it's obvious that the delivery company have knocked it about and damaged it, and I felt very sorry for Roger in that instance, because it's a fantastic machine, very rare, with a very rare perma bag in as well. Also, it's an auto sense, and what happened? It was broken. And it was broken on an area at the bottom which affected the suction, because the suction was coming through the hole. It was also broken on the other side. So all I can say is I feel very sorry for Roger in that instance, because he's had a lot of machines delivered to him from companies like this which have been damaged, and it's very disheartening. And you think, well, why do I bother? You know, every time I order one of these, it's coming broken. I hope that he can get it sorted out, or at least get a refund. If you can keep the machine and re-glue the damaged parts, but it's not going to be the same, is it? It's going to spoil it. It reduces its value if it's damaged. It's a shame, that's all I'm going to say. So if you want to see Roger's video, it's on his channel. So if you like Purepowers, pop over to there. But I've done a review on my Purepower, which was the red and white version, which was the 2100 watt. And I did that back in 2014, and I intend to redo that one again in the future. I don't know when it'll be, sometime in the next few weeks I suppose. But for this one here, I can't remember where I had this from. I got a feeling it might have been from one of the other collectors. I just can't exactly remember where I had this from now, because it's been some time ago when I bought it, and it didn't cost me a lot of money. But this is actually a U3330 Purepower, this is, and it is from 2000, so it's 17 years old. So the Purepower had been running for about 3 years when this came out. Now Roger, when he bought his, is a very, very early one. They started selling them in 97, and that's the time his is made. It had a type of brush roll in which had the edge brushing, the rotating edge brushing bristles. Now I think that brush roll was discontinued quite quickly from the original run, and they replaced it again with the activator brush roll. And when we look at this one from 2000, we should be able to see what they did is to put the activator back on fairly quickly. So that one that Roger's got didn't run for very long, only I would imagine on the 97 or possibly 98, and they changed it fairly rapidly, because from what I could see it wasn't a very good brush roll. It didn't have the activator beta pad, sorry, and the bristles on it were very sparse. It looked more like a Dyson brush roll, to be honest, from an early Dyson. An early clutchless Dyson DC07 would have had a very similar type of brush roll, except it wouldn't have had the end bristles. Anyway, So this this one here, as I say, I had it off eBay, or I had it off another seller, but it was probably via eBay anyway. And it is a... What I'm going to do is demonstrate the stretch hose and things on it first, while the camera's up on the top there. And then I'll bring the camera down for a close-up, and I need to replace the belt on this as well, to fit the belt back on it, because there's no belt on. So I will show how to do that, but I think most people do know how to replace a belt on one of these anyway. But one of the things with the Purepower is that it had a very long hose on the back. I think this is the one with the long hose, but I'm not sure whether it's as long as... what I'm going to probably do is to do in the videos to come is a comparison between this one and a modern Purepower which I bought just a couple of years ago. In other words, I think it was the PU, I can't remember exactly what the model number is, but it's the red and white one. And I'll probably bring that down, have it next to this, and we'll do a comparison video of what's changed on them in all those years. But for the early ones, this one had I don't know what the length of the cord is on this, but I know the later ones only had a fairly short cord on, maybe 6 metres. But they always had a really decent hose. Now, this being an early one, it would have been more expensive when it was in the shops, and I think this was probably in the Argos catalogue back in 2000. So I shall just take the cord over to the front and we'll sort of assess whether I think this is longer than 6 metres. Yes, it's a lot longer than 6 metres, that cord is. Might as well plug it in while I'm here. So, this is probably about either a 7.5, 8 or 8 metre cable on here. I don't think it's a 10, because it wouldn't go from there, on the front door, all the way over to the back. So it's not quite that long. I'm just going to have a look at the hose as well. So the hose comes off the bottom, and then off its little clip on the back, and then I want to see how far this stretches, because I have a feeling it's not as long as the ones on the current Purepower. Yeah, I mean that's a fairly long hose on there. A fairly long hose indeed. If I pull it back this way, it'll virtually come to where the camera is. So I think this would probably go most of the way up the stairs, this hose. And obviously you would have your standard Purepower scabbard crevice tool here, and you would have your extension pole. So those would go together and go on the end of the hose and give you a good long reach on there, so you could get down to do your skirtings, or you could get up to do the cobwebs on the coving or on the ceiling. So they always had pretty good tools on the Purepower did, right from the word go. This one wasn't built in China, only the later ones were built in China. This was a Scottish-made one in Cambuslang. So we'll just put the hose back on the top here. And then clip it in, and then there's another little clip on the side, just to hold it steady. Right, now what else did I need to do when the camera's on the top? Nothing else really, so I think what we'll do is we'll have the camera down now, and what I'll do, I will put the belt back on it, and then we'll go over it. So I will position the camera just on the side here, and focus it down, and we will put the belts back on the machine. So anybody that's got a Purepower, this is basically how you would change the belt on it. Let's just check we can see. Yes, we can. So what we need to do, effectively, is we need to get myself covered in cat hair for a start. Now, that is the problem with black clothes and a white cat. And that just shows how bad it can get in just a couple of days with white cat hair. So with one of these, what we need to do first is to lay it flat, like so. Take the hose off. Let me just check that's in camera view. Yeah, just about. So on the back of the hood there is one screw here and one screw here, and we just need to take those two screws out. Make sure my thing is on reverse. Okay, and then we need to pop our We need to pop the height position off, right, like that, and then we just lift the hood off from the back. Now what we've got here basically is not the brush roll that this cleaner would have come with. Okay, so I'd forgotten I put that brush roll in it, to be honest. I hadn't looked underneath. This is the brush roll out of one of my later Purepowers, which basically I had two later Purepowers. One got damaged. Effectively, the carriage wheels broke off the bottom. So what I did when I had this, the brush roll in it wasn't any good. The bristles had pretty much all snapped off and left it very much like a bald brush roll with hardly any bristles. So what I did, rather than buying another one, which if you buy another brush roll for a Purepower, you're likely to get one in this style, okay? I don't think you can any longer get the activator type brush rolls for these. I mean, I may be wrong with that, but I think these are the ones that they supply now for a Purepower. But this essentially would not be the one that came in this machine. Being red, it's from a later model. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fit this belt back on it, because I don't store vacuum cleaners, uprights anyway, with belts in that are able to then stretch and then become useless. So in order for me to use a vacuum after it's been stored upstairs, I need to remove the hood and put the belt back on. And this is all we have to do, is to literally put it over the spindle, put it over the brush roll, and we can stretch it on. And it's tight as well normally, so there's the one side in, and then we need to just put the other side in as well. And this is the issue. It's so tight and fiddly with these end caps on, because they have to go in a certain way. They have to go in one way round. That's in, and of course that's not in the right way now, so we have to turn that round and then engage it down. That's it, that's fitted. Okay, so that is what it looks like. And like Roger did, I can just do a little demo now of it running. Sounds nice, that does, doesn't it? Very nice indeed. Now we can see there as well the bag full light that comes on. That's obviously a little pipe that goes down into the motor, and it measures the suction or the back pressure inside here. So when the bag gets full, you get a lot of back pressure inside the motor chamber there, and that brings on the bag full light. Later models were not fitted with them. They literally stripped every single component they could out of these when they went over to China. Manufacturing went over there, and in order for them to carry on selling Purepowers for about the £90–100 mark, they've literally taken every single gadget that they used to have off, including that bag full light. So on a later model you would have to listen for the motor change, and you'd have to be aware of loss of suction, or just check the bag every now often by taking the front door off. So as I say, I mean, that was the brush roll there from the later Chinese made ones. It's rather a pity. I could have brought the brush roll down, which is, it is upstairs still, I still have got it, but it is literally hardly any bristles left on it, and I had to change it because it wasn't picking anything up. This is actually a very well used Purepower, but it has cleaned up very nicely. So let's put the cover back on then. Right. So first of all, let's just take the screws out of the holes. We've got one here and one here, and I will check to make sure that that seal is properly pushed on here, because that can sometimes, as this has, come off, and if you leave it off you'll lose suction through that gap. So make sure the seal is pushed on all the way around, just like that. And then we can engage the lugs on the front and push it back down. Then replace the screws in the back. I hate this screwdriver, I tell you what, the torque on it is so bad it just constantly spins round on the screw. Well, I don't hate it, it's just sometimes it's a bit of a nuisance. If it spins too quickly, I'm going to need a manual screwdriver, pardon me. So what happens is, over time, with the belt changes these have, the screws tend to get, the heads on the screws tend to get a little bit worn, and then they, you've got to be more careful then, you don't completely take the heads off the screws. Okay, so that is that. So the screws are back in. Now I need to put my control knob back in the top. Like so. And we stand it up. And there we go. The brush is now on. So we can see the height right control here, and this vent on the front, as we know, is not an actual air vent because the air comes out of the cleaner through the back. So if I get the camera out, we'll have a look in close-up. Right, so this is the, let's just focus in on the stock label on it. It is Hoover model U3330, a pretty common model of Purepower back in the day. As I say, I think this was the one that was sold in the Argos catalogue. It is, serial number there is that 8-digit number here, and then there's a gap, and then this is your date and month, sorry, your year and week code, which is 0043. So that is the year 2000, week 43. And I think that may be the actual production number off the production line. So it was maybe the 969th machine produced. But that's the date we're all interested in to see how old the cleaner is. Any machine made after 1997 will be in that format. Before 1997, they had the model number, followed by the year, followed by the month. Roger's machine is a little bit different. That is made on the actual changeover, on the 1997 changeover. So his is actually a Hoover Candy style sticker with the model number on, followed by the year 97, and his is 9708. So that is 1997 week 8. But it starts with the U330, so that is sort of the odd year out really, when it was slightly different the way it was done. And this machine was, as we can see there, if the camera will focus on it, can I see it there? 1300 watts max. So it was quite a reasonable power for a Purepower, and as we know, they went up to stupid amounts of power, didn't they, later on in life. They went up to over 2000 watts before the EU put its foot down and said, no, you can't have machines that are that powerful anymore. So there we go, the hose is on the back here, as I demonstrated before. Just on side there is our filter housing, and inside here is exactly the same filter that Roger had on his machine. I believe this is just the standard filter. If it was a HEPA filter, there would be a paper pleated one in there. I think Alex's machine that he had from '97, that's Pneumatic Vacuum's machine, had the HEPA filter in the back, because his was the top of the range model. Although it wasn't new, it was an old machine, but it still had, I think, a different filter to this. That I have washed. I know it looks dirty, but I did wash that. And you can see the motor, well you can't, but it's in there. And this is the exhaust port. So that one on the front is just there pretty much for decoration. Later models didn't have the air filter on there, which Rogers does have, but his hasn't actually got the air filter pad, it's just got the provision for one. So this is the 2000 model, didn't come with it. Okay, I'll put that back on there. Right, so going up the machine, we've got the tools. As we know, it's a Purepower, so it'll have its Purepower dusting brush here and the upholstery tool there. So they're the same as what Roger demonstrated on his video. And later models had exactly the same type of tools. Then further down here, I've showed the crevice tool and the other extension on the side there. And here is the infamous Purepower foot pedal, which, as most people who have owned these know, they are a pain in the arse. They eventually start to wear, and then the machine starts to tilt back slightly, and this one has got a little bit of a rearward lean on it. Nowhere near as bad as what the Turbo Power ones used to suffer from, but nevertheless this was a very weak point on a Purepower, and they've always been the same. Newer models are very, very stiff to press this pedal down. Earlier models weren't so bad. So we've seen underneath it. I will just tip it back and show underneath. So there we can see the undercarriage wheels. This part here is what broke on my new machine. That bit there snapped off. So effectively this whole undercarriage dropped off the machine. I actually dropped it when I was carrying it and it fell onto the floor and that smashed off. So these are very fragile, these machines. You need to be careful when you're moving them about, even the new ones, because they will break. That there is a very weak point. It's just a little plastic hinge. It snaps off easily, and then your whole of your undercarriage wheels won't stay on the machine. That machine now is in my loft, and I robbed the brush roll out of it to use in this as a parts machine. Okay, so that's the base. Inside here, as we know, there's the bag full light there, and on Roger's machine his has the auto sense board, which has the low, medium and the high lights on there, as well as the bag full indicator. I think his does work actually, so that's pretty good. Inside here we have the bag. This is actually one of the bags that I got in my new Purepowers, so it's a Hoover one. We can remove it from there, and we can see instantly from that by the year 2000, just 3 years after the original production, they'd already changed this here, because the one that Roger has a little flap that pulls down that you push your bag collar into, but this one doesn't have it. So you'd have to put your little tab there on the bag into that little slot there, and it's probably going to be a little bit tricky to film, so if I get that slot into there and then push it back and click that bit underneath there, and that's bag installed. The filters in the bottom, again, that was out of my new Purepower. I robbed that out of that to put in this, so it is a twin-sided affair. We've got the seal around the bag compartment, and underneath here where you would think there would be an exhaust, there isn't one. It's there solely for decoration. Right, and then we see it says sealed suction 7-stage filtration system, edge-to-edge power cleaning, and again that was a different type of font, and these arrows appeared on the side which didn't appear on the original 97 models. So that was essentially the year 2000 Purepower. All the cabinet is in the green colour rather than just the front with a black rear, as most late model Purepowers are. They'll have a black back and just the coloured front, but this machine was all in the same colour. So it looked better. It looks much better quality from back in those days to what it is now. One other difference between this and the 1997 model is that this had a different type of cuff to the one on Roger's machine, which is a more angled affair, more angular sort of nozzle. So that fits into there. It's also a looser fit in there because this, by this stage, I don't think. Yeah, there's a little rubber seal in here, but that's obviously worn over the years, so that's become a little bit of a looser fit in, but nevertheless it still goes in. Right, so what we'll do is I'll put the camera back up on the top and we will have our usual push round with it, just to finish off the video. And I might do a daily clean with this in due course. As I say, the review videos like this are mostly talking, and then if you wanted to see it just solely vacuuming, that'll be on the daily clean videos. That's the purpose of them, is that there's no waffling on those like I do on these type. So I will probably do a daily clean with this in due course, but let's give it a quick push around now so you can hear it running. There we go. So that's a really nice cleaner to use. It virtually pulls itself along the carpet, this does. It is a lot quieter to use than the more modern ones, which drive screamer motors. And that brush roll is nowhere near as noisy on the floor as what the red and white one I have is. So effectively, I mean, that is a beautiful cleaner still. And we can see, well, I don't know, let's just get the camera off here, and you can see on the carpet there just what nice grooming lines that left. That is a really, really good result on there, isn't it? I know my carpet's looking a bit grubby now. That's all the big mess tests and everything I've done on it. I really must have to try and get the shampooer down here sometime in the future. Get some more solution for the Bissell one I've got upstairs, and use the carpet shampooer in here, because this carpet now is beginning to look a little bit shabby. You wouldn't think it really, because I hoover in here or vacuum in here virtually every single day, but unfortunately, being a beige carpet, it has suffered over the 11 years that it's been fitted in this house. But nevertheless, I mean, those grooming lines there, from that brush roll, which is from the modern Purepower, that is very, very good. I'm very impressed. I don't know whether the brush roll that Roger has got in his machine would make a good job like that. That could have been why it was changed pretty soon afterwards back to the activator style that was found in the Turbo Power 2. But nevertheless, there we go. That's been my little quick review there. Well, the half an hour review of my Purepower U3330 from year 2000. I'll see you again next time.